you're doing good, having a great time here, and thanks for welcoming me. All right. So, yeah, as I was already introduced, my name is Alex. I'm co-founder of VisualMakers, and together with my wonderful co-founder Lilith, who's also here today, we built a product studio which builds no-code web applications, mainly with WeWeb and Xano at the time. And yeah, we're also doing trainings and education stuff, and also are lucky to have the greatest German no-code community. And I also talked to some members over the last couple hours. So yeah, thanks for being part of the journey. Today's topic, unleashing speed with our design framework that we have for building no-code applications. And first of all, maybe why is it important to have a design process or framework when building no-code apps? And I would like to say it's not always about speed, because this, for example, looks like a great product. It's beautiful, but it might not feel that beautiful because maybe you're not sure how to use that. And therefore, it's a little bit similar with building web apps. We want to make sure that our apps don't end up like this product where nobody knows how to use that. So yeah, that's why we want to use a design system, not a design system, but a design process to prevent massive overhaul for the final result. So because, yeah, just think about designing an app, building an app for like 2 months, and then only to hear the customer or the user say, so I don't know how to use it, or it's not working as expected. So that's one thing. Then you want to keep the customer happy. So in case it's an agency project, for example, if you need to rework the app, that means more time, more cost. And if you don't want to take it all on your own head and might risk your company financially, maybe as we did in the early days. So yeah, then you need to build a client. So yeah, I would like to ask you to do not be like us. So, and yeah, third thing is with the design framework, you can speed up the whole process of your design work as well as the implementation. And because if you have a standardized framework, then you know exactly what you do. You have step-by-step guides and don't need to think about what's the next step in your process. Then also, if you're a freelancer or agency, it can also mean that you could be more profitable because you can achieve more in less time. And then yeah, maybe raise your hourly rates or have a higher value-based pricing, for example. And then it also means keeping the maintainability of your app, because with design systems or design frameworks, there come conventions, and those enable your team, for example, to maintain your app easily. But the first step of the design framework is basically to understand the customer needs, and that's also the most important one, I would say, and it could be also the hardest one, because business processes can be very complex, and we definitely need to take some time to understand that. And the key thing here is to ask questions, ask the right questions, consult the clients or users, guide them through, tell them about best practices, or maybe also alternatives if they come up with ideas that do not work out. So that's also very important. Because we had clients in like workshops who mentioned, oh, I'd like to have this feature and this feature and this feature and this and that, and yeah, so it's really about reducing complexity and guiding the clients. So therefore, what we do is we usually start with a bunch of requirements workshops where we break down all the functionalities into very easy and good understandable yeah, packages, so to say. So, and we do that with a simple use case diagram. So where we first lay out the relevant systems for our app. So it might be a user portal and an admin portal. And then we define the roles that will be acting in those systems, as well as the users, and then the key functionalities that they will be able to, to run. So again, here it's all about reducing complexity and trying to make it as easy as possible, because I mentioned business processes can be complex, and it's easier for us to get a better understanding if we start on a high level, and from there on we can work into details in other sessions, in follow-up sessions. So, all right, and once we're done with that, we can start the actual design process. And for that, we personally use Figma, and I'm not sure how many people of you have used Figma to build apps. Okay, that's a lot. How many people of you do use other tools like Sketch or so? Maybe 1 or 2. Okay, perfect. I would suggest you to switch maybe because Figma is really easy to use. It's free to start with. You can learn the basics in like 10 minutes. You can collaborate with your teammates, and you have lots of UI kits that can speed up your work. And what's also cool is that some of the most used no-code tools do provide plugins for importing the designs into the tools. So, and that's also where we come to later on. So what we then did back in the days, once we started in Figma, we laid out the whole app in like wireframes, because it was first of all important to figure out the most important information that we want to display on our apps, and not to lose yourself into the design or so, but more rather into what information needs to be displayed on the different sites, and how many screens do we need, what do processes look like in our app, and so on. And once you're done with that, you can then start with the high fidelity prototyping, so to say. But again, here it's again the key to start small, to reduce complexity, and gain or get feedback early in the process. So getting users in the loop, getting clients in the loop, just to get some feedback on what you have been doing, and just to rework some stuff then, or update the screens, whatever, because in this process it's very easy to come up with changes rather than have to implement them later on in the live application. So that will really give you some headaches, and we had that. I can tell you stories. So what we decided on to also speed up our process is to choose on a UI kit called Untitled UI, because we're not a design agency, so we were looking for a way to quickly build apps, good-looking apps, and which also have like best practices for UI, UX, etc., etc. So Untitled UI is a great framework. It provides you with all the pages, all the elements, components that you need to build comprehensive web apps. And if you compare web apps with each other, there are lots of elements that are similar. You have tables, you have forms, you have, I don't know, dashboards, for example, and they're all the same. And I will show you some examples in a minute of projects that we have built with Untitled UI. So it's a great start, and we basically, since we use Untitled UI, we skip that whole wireframing part, because it's so easy and fast to just lay out screens with Untitled UI. It's not free though, so it costs a couple $100, but it's definitely worth the investment, because it saves you so much time. So, and it speeds up your design process by like 200%. You could also use a free version of other UI kits in Figma. That's also no problem. So this one, for example, provides you with everything you need to create a basic web app. So that's also pretty fine. I would recommend you Untitled UI then. So they have also a free version that you can try out. One of the projects that I wanted to show you is a learning management system, where in this case that's the admin portal, where the users or the administrators can set up the courses, the lessons, the quizzes, certificates, and so on. So just a basic admin portal. And here's a complete other use case that's basically a content management system for a church from Switzerland, where they can manage all the content that will be displayed on their website later on. So complete different use cases, but you see that the layout is very similar to each other, so it's yeah, only natural to reuse the same elements. This is also another use case. It's a semester planning tool from a big private university from Germany that we work with. And also Untitled UI is really fast to lay out the screens. Last example is a tool where you can get certifications for solar panels and systems. If you are a company and you want to install a solar system on your building, you can simply use our tool. And sometimes there are elements that you need to custom design. In this case, it's this bar on the left, where we broke down the whole questionnaire into different chapters. And so sometimes, obviously, you need to come up with a custom design, but most of the cases, I think UI kits like Untitled UI provide you with 90% of the stuff. So when it comes to transferring the design, I would like to first talk with you about some principles that we use in order to keep the maintainability of the app. And that's basically rule number one, use style classes and design tokens, because it will make it so much easier to maintain your app. Not sure, have anybody of you developed websites with Webflow, for example? All right. So you might know that if you put a container on, if you use containers in Webflow and put that on your canvas, it will automatically name those containers like div number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. And there are so many bad examples on the web where you see like a project where it's called like div 285 or whatever. So it will take so much time to rework that whole thing instead of just keeping like style classes from the start. Another thing is reusable components. So when you develop components in WeWeb, in Bubble, in Webflow, for example, think about it twice if you need to reuse that one in another page, in another section or so. So because reusable components is something that's really powerful because you only need to create it once and then can use it throughout your whole application. And if you need to make a change, you only need to make it at one point and so on. And it will be applied to all the elements that are used throughout your whole application. So that's also something very powerful. And naming conventions, of course. I think that's pretty basic, but definitely need to be on the list here. So transferring the design, how does that work? For example, in WeWeb, that's one of the tools that we use most. So WeWeb comes fortunately with a plugin in Figma where you can simply select the stuff that you want to import from Figma to Webflow. In this case, you can select the design tokens, you can select colors, logos, and I think since a few weeks you can also select whole sections of your design to just copy and paste that to your application. So in WeWeb, you have this little Figma icon here where you can simply link that to your Figma file and then easily import the whole style system from Figma. So you only do that once. How does that work in Bubble? So in Bubble, you have also the possibility to import designs from Figma. You just need to set up a personal access token in the Figma settings and then need to put that into the Bubble settings, and then you can import the whole Figma file. Unfortunately, that comes completely with a fixed layout, so it's not responsive at all, and you would need to rework your whole application. There are other platforms that allow you also to have the responsive layout converted, like Design, for example. So with this tool, you can also have your fully responsive application moved to Bubble. Webflow, for example, has also a great Figma plugin. Don't want to go into detail here. There's a great tutorial out there which you can watch. If you want to take it a step further, you could use Relume to completely generate websites with AI. So you just put in two or three sentences, and then it will generate you the whole structure and a landing page with AI, and this is what it looks like. So I think that's pretty cool. So just hit publish and then the website is live. Or maybe you want to add some pictures and colors and so on, that's also no problem. So from here you can just export it to Figma or to Webflow by just a click of a button, so that's also pretty cool. And if you want to add sections and so on, Reloom was originally a library for Webflow components, and yeah, you can simply copy and paste them into your project. All right, so how does our design framework looks in total? Just to summarize it, first of all, it's important to understand the customer needs, because the better you understand the processes, the better the result will be in the end, of course. Then you can start with low fidelity wireframing, just to yeah, focus on what's most important. You could also skip that step if you have some more experience with designing web applications, but I would suggest to get feedback early from clients and users in the loop, just to stay on the right path. And then, yeah, the implementation comes at the end. And how could you speed up this whole process? So first of all, you should involve designers early in the process. So best case would be that if you have the dedicated designers who work on that project, if you involve them also in the requirements engineering workshops, just so they get a good understanding from the start, can ask questions and stuff like that. And the second one is use UI kits or build one yourself. So as I mentioned, we're not a design agency, so we decided on Untitled UI. If you are one, maybe when you're building your next project, think of it as a template and make it reusable for upcoming projects. Then number 3 would be use inspirational resources, for example, Dribble or other design platforms. So we also had some use cases where we didn't find any best practices that served exactly this use case. So we looked for use cases from other fields and so on, and that's also a good tip. Number 4, don't build everything from scratch. Use the input functions. Yeah, so like I had told you or showed you, common no-code tools like WeWeb, Bubble, and so on. Everyone has a Figma plugin, for example, so you can easily transfer your designs into the apps. And last one, and well, yeah, one of the most important ones, is use style classes, components, and naming conventions, so you can maintain your app after building. All right, that's it. I'm open for questions.
Thank you very much.